Hey guys, it's Jackie and welcome to my channel. Oh my gosh, it's been so long since I've filmed and I've been vlogging here and there. It's nothing consistent, but I haven't actually sat down and filmed a video in such a long time. For today's video, I wanted to do a little sit down, chit chat, get ready with me. And I wanted to tell you guys my labor and delivery story while I did this. Yeah, I also have a bunch of new makeup that I am playing with, that I am excited. I've been wanting to play with new makeup for such a long time. Also, I have new brushes that I've been wanting to use, and yeah, so let's get into it. Okay, so my brows are all done. It took me quite some time to do my brows. So we're going to start with eyeshadow. I've been wanting to, I have a bunch of new palettes that I have been wanting to play with, but I just bought the Conspiracy palette, so I'm going to use this today, and I'm going to do the most basic eye look because I don't know how to play with colors yet, so let's get started with priming. I'm going to prime with the CoverGirl True Blend Undercover Concealer, and I have the shade Light Ivory. I've never primed with concealer, so let's see how this goes. Oh god, that's a lot. By the way, you guys, the baby is outside in the living room with my mom. Okay, I'm not even getting started with I don't know how to do this. What the heck? I'm pretty sure in a video I had said that I was gonna have a scheduled C-section with Noah. So I had a C-section scheduled for the 22nd of April, and I scheduled it because I had talked to my OB, and he recommended it would be best for me to go in for scheduled C-section after hearing Penelope's story. He's like, the way you're explaining things to me, you have a very small cervix and it's hard for a baby to be pushed through. I wanted to try for a VBAC, but he had told me about some complications that could have happened. It wasn't for sure that it was going to happen, but it could have. I would have had to been induced either way, and he's like, with the contractions, the pain medication, he's like, there is a high chance of your scar rupturing and giving the baby brain damage. And I got scared, so I decided to just schedule a C-section, and I was hoping to go into labor earlier than that. Okay, so I'm going to go in with Tanacon, which is right here. I don't want to use, he was just giving me like all the information because I asked for it. He wasn't telling me, I asked for it, and he was like, there's a possibility that this and this and this could happen. He's like, I'm not telling you it will, but it could happen. Those are the dangers of a VBAC. And I told him, I'm like, schedule me my C-section, and if I go into labor early, I'm going to try for the VBAC. So that's what we had left off on. Now I'm going to go in with Diet Root Beer and just put that, there's like a little hair all over my lid and a little bit into the crease. You guys, when I'm telling you I'm going to do the most basic eye look, this is as basic as it's going to get. This is it. So now we're going to start onto the face. I am going to use my simple replenishing moisturizer. So 22nd rolls around. My C-section was scheduled for 11:30. I was there around 8:30ish, 9ish, I would like to say. Somewhere's around there. Again, pre-admitted, or I admitted myself. Abi Saeed got our room, and then everything started. I had my blood work done. They had me sign everything for the anesthesia. The anesthesiologist came in. I spoke to him. I'm gonna prime with the e.l.f. matte putty primer. And then it was just waiting after that. By the way, the entire time in the hospital, we had masks on. They kept telling me the entire time, your surgery is going to be at 11:30. Unless something happens, then it's going to be pushed back. it wasn't pushed back. 11:30 rolls around. They're getting me prepped. Abisai is fully gowned up. He had to wear a face, or sorry, Abisai's calling me, but okay. So for foundation, I'm gonna try the Tarte Maracuja Tinted Hydrator. So yeah, Abisai had to wear the like hair nets on his face because he had a beard. Oh my, I think the sponge is like eating it up. Let me just try dotting it on my face and see how that works. Nope. Still, they didn't do an epidural. I have no idea what the anesthesiologist did because there was no epidural in me. So they sit me onto the operating table. You guys, when I tell you I was having a full-blown panic attack the second I sat on the table, I was panicking. I was shaking. I was having trouble breathing. Like, I was panicking. But thankfully, before all of this, when the anesthesiologist walked into the room to speak to me, he told me that he's gonna give me some like relaxing medication to help me relax so I wouldn't panic. So literally the entire time in my head, I'm like, breathe, Jackie. I was like, breathe, breathe, breathe. It's okay. Your son's gonna be here. It's okay. I was trying to calm myself down. I don't know what he was doing, but I like hear like a few like clicks because he was in my back. He was already back there. They had sat me down. He had cleaned up the area, prepared the area, everything. And I just heard some like snapping, and next thing I know, they're like, okay, they're like, lay down, there's nothing in your back. Okay, so my base looks really, really, really bad, really patchy. But I'm gonna go ahead and set my under eyes, although they already look drier than the Sahara Desert. Me and Abisai, I'm just laying there, Abisai sitting there, and the doctor and his assistant are just talking to each other, you know? And then out of nowhere, I just hear the surgeon just be like, oh my gosh, es un niño grande, like with the thickest accent ever. And I laughed. And I looked to the left thinking they're showing me the baby from the left side, because when you're having a C-section, there's a curtain up. So I thought they were trying to show me him from the left side. I don't know why. I'm so stupid if the surgeon's on my right side. I didn't know that. And I turned to the right side, and there he was, my little Noah, just with his crying face. He wasn't crying yet. I don't think he was crying yet, but he had like his crying face on. And I was just like, oh my baby. Like, I was smiling like such an idiot, but okay, so my camera stopped recording. But I was sitting or laying there smiling, and I completely forgot I had a face mask on. And I'm like, the doctors probably couldn't see me smiling like an idiot because I had my face covered. And they're probably like, oh my gosh, she's not saying anything. She's not happy to see the baby. Like, and he was born at 11:55 on April 22nd. So nothing crazy, absolutely nothing crazy like Penelope. The epidural worked, the anesthesia worked, everything worked. I was in there and I was out in like 5 minutes. But that's not it, you guys. That is not it. So after your surgery, or after giving birth in general, you go to the what is it called, recovery room. My god, oh my god, it does not look that bad in person. Oh my god, what in the freaking world? Good thing I ain't going nowhere. Can you guys see my nose? It's like completely like peeling off. Okay guys, so I swear the bronzer does not look this bad. You can't even see it in person. Like, my sister came in and she even said, she's like, you can't even see the bronzer. So it's okay, y'all. I'm gonna use the KKW blush in Luxe. Oh, there you go. That's the shade right there. And I'm going to use a JH04. So like I said, I just bought these brushes, which is why this is all I'm using, okay? I'm almost done with my makeup and I'm still not done with the story. Oh my god. The 2 hours had passed. I had seen the baby, you know, I spent time with them. I did skin to skin. I think I tried breastfeeding. I don't think I tried breastfeeding yet, but I did do skin to skin for quite some time. I think a little over 30 minutes. I haven't used my Fenty Beauty in a long time, so I'll use it today. So I'm going to use the shade Lightning Dust and Fire Crystal with the JH09. Sorry, I keep getting interrupted, and every time I get interrupted, I forget where I left off on. So I think I said I did skin to skin, and that was it. I did skin to skin. I spent time with my beautiful, gorgeous little son. I'm gonna set my makeup now. And then I was finally able to go to my room. I still had no idea of anything that was going on with myself. In my room, I got to my bed, they put me on my bed, and then I got to talking to my nurse that was in charge of me that day. And she then starts checking my incision. She checks it. She's like, oh my gosh, it looks fantastic. You know, the doctor did such a great job. Blah, 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 whatever. And then I see that she just starts getting a little worried. And I'm just like, okay. Because she keeps asking me, she's like, are you feeling good? Are you okay? Like, and then they start checking my blood pressure. And I think they said my blood pressure was a little low. And now for the inner corner, we are going to take Food Vibes, which is, I don't want to touch any of the shadows, this one right here. So we're going to take Food Vibes right here and put that in the inner corner for a pop of color. My blood pressure was a little low, and she wasn't too worried. Like, she wasn't making me freak out or anything. I think she was just worried because all the symptoms I was supposed to be feeling, I wasn't feeling them. So come to find out, she was telling me that I was bleeding a little too much. I was bleeding a lot, and she was telling me that's why she was so confused as to why I wasn't feeling all the symptoms of me losing too much blood. So that is it. The eyes are done. That is the shadow. That is the most basic eye look you could do with the Shane Dawson Jeffree Star Conspiracy Palette. She then starts worrying because she had to change, the nurse starts worrying, sorry. The nurse starts worrying because she was checking my pad like every 20 to like 30 minutes. And every time she would check, my pad was like super full. It was so full to the point that she had to go get a scale to weigh how much blood each pad had. At this point, we had Noah in the room with us. The pediatrician walks in and she's examining Noah, you know, doing her work, while everybody, she had called in like a bunch of nurses because she was trying to put in another IV on this arm because I was gonna need a blood transfusion. So then I start, you know, getting poked everywhere. You guys, you should have seen my hands. They were so bruised. They literally try here, 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 somewhere else here. And I had lost so much blood that my veins were so thin and they couldn't find a good vein to put the IV in. So then she's telling me that I am going to start hemorrhaging soon if I don't stop bleeding. And when she told me that, the pediatrician had said that she heard a heart murmur on the baby. And that was just too much for me to take in. I was so confused. I was so lost. And I'm just like, how am I losing so much blood? I feel perfectly fine. And then I hear my son has a heart murmur. He's gonna need an echo done. And I'm just like, what? I don't understand. So then I'm just sitting there like so confused, because the reason why I was confused about the heart murmur was his heart had always been a concern during my pregnancy, and I had gotten so many scans on his heart and everything was cleared out. The nurse walks in and she's telling me that I'm gonna have to get a shot in my leg to stop the bleeding. So I think they also had to put me on Pitocin to, I guess that was gonna sort of stop the bleeding as well, like help the uterus go into place and sort of stop the bleeding. It was just a lot of things, like a lot of information hitting me at once. So for lips, I'm gonna be using all KKW stuff. I'm going to be using the lip liner in 0.5, lipstick in Nude 3, and I got this lip gloss in the shade Lust. So let's give it a try. I know all these shades are going to make my teeth look super yellow, but that's okay. Okay, so I am done with the lips. I do not like this gloss. So sorry if the lighting changed. I turned off my mirror because I'm done using it. So I think you guys could see the makeup a lot better anyways. So the bleeding stops. Or it doesn't completely stop, but it subsided tremendously. So I ended up being told that I did hemorrhage, and they were just going to keep a close eye on my bleeding and all of that, and make sure it doesn't get too crazy again, or else I would need a blood transfusion. And by the way, I was okay with a blood transfusion. If I needed it, I was gonna get it. I was okay with getting it. And then I was just worried for Noah. The entire time, it had been, I think, over 24 hours, and he hadn't had any tests done. He hadn't had his hearing or his or any of those tests. He hadn't had any of those tests done yet. And I was getting worried because I'm like, why aren't they testing my son? I'm not going to be able to leave in 2 days like I want to. I believe it might have been the next day. They end up coming for Noah so they could do the echo on him. I haven't and an echo, so I can't say those words. And that took about 2 hours, and I was nervous. I was so worried. I don't want to cry because just thinking about it, we weren't told any results, nothing. I think later that night, the nurses came in and we told them, we were like, hey, we weren't told any news of how his ultrasound went or anything like that. Like, no tests have been done on the baby. Like, nothing has been done on him. Like, what is going on? Like, you guys are taking your sweet time and we want to be going home soon. They end up telling whatever doctor was on call, or not doctor, pediatrician, I believe. And he ends up coming in, and he's the one that tells us that he has 2 holes and he has an extra vein or vessel, or I don't know what the hell it was. I'm just saying a vein. It was like an extra vein. I don't know. I break down because I feel like if I would have pushed the ultrasounds a little more and for them to go a little bit more in depth and not be okay with the doctor clearing it out, then we would have caught this before he was born and I would have been prepared. So that was like major things that happened in the hospital. Nothing else happened for that. He passed all his tests, thank God. He didn't feed for 24 hours because he could latch on the boob, but he hated the work. And he wasn't hungry for 24 hours. He got hungry after 24 hours. So, yeah. No major news. Nothing else in the hospital other than the heart murmur. I had a hemorrhage. That was it. I got my iron bags, my iron transfusion. So we were discharged April 24th. And that's the little picture that I have of him in his car seat. My little baby. I was worried for his color because I wasn't told up to this point. I thought he had jaundice, but we weren't told that he had jaundice. So the pediatrician orders lab work so his levels could be tested to see if there's anything that we should be worried about. But she said she wasn't too worried for his color. You could tell he did have some light jaundice, but she wasn't worried about it. But she ordered the lab work for us, or me. And she then calls me later that day and she's like, his levels are fine. She's like, you could do sun therapy if you want. Just sit him in front of a well-lit window, give him some vitamin D drops, and he should be fine. The next week after that, we go to see the basically cardiologist. And I was in the room with him. He had an ultrasound done, and the doctor then tells me that his heart is fine. He still has one little hole, but he said it's so tiny that it's not stopping from his heart from functioning correctly. He's like, his heart functions correctly. He does have like an extra vein. He's like, but that's to the side of the heart. Like, it's not affecting his heart whatsoever. One of the holes already closed. And he said, he's like, his heart is functioning perfectly fine. He's like, if he wants to beat up his sister, if he wants to wrestle when he's older, he said that he's perfectly fine. But he does have another appointment with the cardiologist when he is a year. And that is to see and make sure that the little hole did end up closing. So I'm not breastfeeding him. I was pumping. And it got to the point where my boobs got so hard it hurt. Like, not pumping would relieve it. And then I would put heating pads on it and they would like relax for a little bit, and then they would get super hard, and then I would get like little bumps. And on this day, my brother-in-laws were over. I had the sharpest headache. Like, it was so bad, I was dying. I then started getting a fever. I then got super cold, and then started getting the chills, and I was shivering, and I had like a super high fever. We ended up calling a doctor, and I was diagnosed with mastitis. And if you guys don't know what mastitis is, that is an infection in your boobs. And it's horrible, and it's so painful. So at this point, I was treating it with Tylenol. I was trying to take Tylenol, and the doctor said since that's not working, I had to be put on antibiotics. So he prescribed me antibiotics. I got on antibiotics, and he told me that it's going to take about 24 hours for the antibiotics to help and subside the symptoms. The next day, I pick up the antibiotics because it was so late. The pharmacy was closed. And the next day, I was feeling good, you guys. Like, I did get the sweats afterwards, and it did go into the next day. The sweats went into the next day. But then, around 7 o'clock the next day, I started getting the chills again. I was freezing. I had like 4 blankets on top of me. Nothing was helping me. The only thing that helped was Avisai had to hug me, and he has a really hot body. His body temperature is really hot. So he had to hug me, and that's the only way that I was able to regulate my body and my body temperature. So that's what I'm dealing with. I'm still taking my antibiotics. I'm still on my antibiotics. He prescribed me like a million of antibiotics, which I get it since it involves my boobies. I need to be careful. I need to be on my antibiotics, but I am too scared to give Noah my breast milk, so I am no longer feeding him my breast milk, which is so sad. So I am pumping and dumping. So that is it for my labor and delivery story. I have a little guest. Are you gonna finish the video with mommy? Sounds good. So that is it for today's video. Don't forget to like, and if you guys would like to see Penelope's labor and delivery story, I will leave that link down below because that was so traumatizing. I am surprised that I had another baby. I think after this one I am set because this one was also somewhat in a way traumatizing. Anyways, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. 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 You're gonna burn yourself.